Wraeclast Weekly! Hello, welcome back to another Wraeclast Weekly. So I had just been slowly chipping away at my endgame grind, so I'm still playing the game, I'm really enjoying my character. Especially my meme build, which is what I'm mostly playing. It got to level 97 so far, so I'm really happy with that. We'll talk about it a bit later. So this episode of Wraeclast Weekly might be the last one for Archnemesis League until we get some new information about the new league, which will still happen during the Archnemesis, but I will count that as a new season. So that will pertain to the new information, which is gonna be about next league, right? So I thought this Wraeclast Weekly, we should wrap up the league, which includes the league mechanic, the Atlas expansion, my builds, and basically what worked and didn't work for me this league, I guess. Top list, as always, is gonna be on the screen right now, so you know exactly what we're talking about. Right. So, starting off, we have Archnemesis League. Overall, I thought it was an okay league mechanic, considering it came with a big-ass expansion, endgame expansion. So it was good enough for me to engage it until I basically finished the endgame grind, and after that, it wasn't good enough for me to keep engaging with it, like, let's say, Expedition in the past, or even Ultimatum in the past, that I kept doing until the very end. Like, I kept doing ultimatums until I literally stopped playing for that league. So that's usually like 2.5 months-ish, until I finish my endgame grinds, which is gonna be more or less the same timeline for this league. Nowadays, I just keep my Archnemesis inventory full until I can basically complete an Innocence Touch recipe, which doesn't happen because I'm just getting bottlenecked by 1 or 2 pieces that are just not dropping for me. So my inventory is full with things that are half made, things that I have duplicates of made, so I can do these recipes, but I just can't do them because I'm bottlenecked by these two pieces or a few pieces that they just don't drop, which really annoys me. And I've just altogether stopped doing any Archnemesis recipe until I get these pieces, because basically at this point, I just want to do the biggest and punchiest recipe, and it's just not happening. I don't know even if I will be able to complete one until the end of the league. I mean, Innocence Touch recipe, because they're just not dropping. They're just not dropping the pieces. And another thing is just that for me, the inventory for these pieces might as well have been unlimited. Why did it have to be constrained with like this small? Well, it's like relatively small inventories. Like can't trade them anyways. So why did they have to make them limited? I don't get it. Just I know that they didn't want us to hoard and they want us to use the pieces, but like, why can't I just do my own thing? Why do I have to make recipes that I don't want to? And of course, there's the argument, just don't pick up the pieces you don't want to. But even if you don't pick up the pieces you don't want to, and you pick up only the pieces you want for your recipes, you will still be leaving your desirable pieces on the ground because some of the pieces you need for certain recipes are so much rarer than others, so you get so much more duplicates. This whole min-maxing or micromanaging thing about Archnemesis is just like, I got over it. As soon as I completed my endgame grind, I was like, yeah, hasta luego, cara huevo. I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm just gonna chill, do the recipe I want, and if I can't do it, oh well. I'm not engaging with the league mechanic at all. I'm ignoring the pieces on the ground until I see the one I want. And even then, my other biggest gripe about this is the fact that you don't have any kind of indication if you have started a recipe in Archnemesis. So what happens for me is like, I don't engage with the league mechanic until I get something good, right? In this case, something that is required to complete the Innocence Touch recipe. But because I don't usually, at this point, I've done so many maps without doing the Archnemesis mechanic. Once I do it, it's so easy to forget it if you get distracted, like sidetracked by some kind of other mechanic, like let's say harvest. Harvest is super engaging mechanic because you first will have to make choices about which plots to harvest. Then you have a bunch of crafting thingies, and then you go outside, there's an expedition, breach, whatever. So because, and specifically because you don't pick up every piece, you just walk by all the Archnemesis thingies anyways, because at that point I'm already forgotten that I started something. And if I started some recipe with a rare piece, now I've lost that rare piece and I have to run bazillion maps until I drop that one again. And it has happened to me several times. It's like there's no indication that you have started something in Archnemesis. It's not like with Metamorph, for example, right? You collect all the pieces from a map and Metamorph pops up, so you have an indication. Same with Ritual, I guess. Ritual, I also sometimes forget to check the rewards because I just don't pay attention that it was their last Ritual, right? I mean, it's on me. It's on me to not remember, but it's just so annoying. Because those pieces are so rare, it's just so annoying. I just, honestly, just, yeah. It's pretty nitpicky from me. But I just can't. I stopped dealing with Archnemesis pretty much until I find the piece that I want for a big old recipe. And then, if we talk about this league going core, I personally don't think it will go core. And I won't miss it. I won't care. It doesn't really bring anything super special. There's no specific league drops, I don't think, like unique drops. There's nothing specific drops. It's basically a loot piñata, which we have many loot piñatas with those kind of things. Like, it doesn't really bring... And then it will bring back this micromanaging of the pieces. Like, it's just so over it already. I'm so over it. And what comes when league mechanic is incorporated in the core game is that it gets diluted, right? You only get it like 8% of the maps randomly spawn. There could be added, like, you know how they have added Atlas passive points for many different past leagues. They could probably do the same thing for Archnemesis, but it's not gonna be, unless there's a scarab or some way to guarantee it on every map. It's not gonna be very consistent how you get the pieces, or how maybe they increase how many pieces you get. That's also a thing. But like, there are some pieces that are so rare already now that we get Archnemesis every freaking map. So what will happen when we get it one every 5 maps? Now I don't think, unless they change how we store the pieces, or how they are acquired, or anything else like that. Maybe you can drop already higher made pieces. Who knows? Unless they change that, I will not be sad to see it go. And I don't think it's gonna go core from what we've seen so far. My mind can be changed. Like, I don't think it was horrible, but it just, like, it didn't grow on me. I find it like kind of like a chore. It's not a nice and engaging, chill mechanic. I don't know. It's just too much work, basically. And I don't want the game to be work for me. So I give Archnemesis 4 out of 10. I don't know if I'm being too harsh, but just the fact that I'm not doing it right now, I'm not doing the league mechanic. Now, when I'm still playing the game, it's not almost 2 months in, but I'm not doing the league mechanic. I'm almost completely ignoring it. It just goes to show that it was just not for me. Of course, this is my opinion. So 4 out of 10 for the league. Right. Next thing, it's a bit more pleasant topic because we're moving to Siege of the Atlas expansion. Woo! Right. So overall, I think it was very well received by the general public, including me. Atlas passive tree, chef's kiss, amazing, awesome, love it. The things you can do, the way you can shape the content you do with Atlas passive is just what we need because, you know, the talk has been over leagues and leagues and they're getting added to the core. It's just how oversaturated PoE has gotten. Now, and with this, Atlas passive tree, what you can do is shape it to your playstyle, the way you want, what you want to farm, what league mechanics, past league mechanics are the most engaging to you. I love that part. It's great. Another thing that I guess I could see nerfed, but I will talk about nerfs later. I'll just mention it. The sheer amount of scarabs we're getting this league is also great. Now, on one hand, you could say, well, you're getting so many scarabs, right? They're almost worthless. Depends on the scarab, obviously. But, like, they're almost worthless. But, like, you can do... Like, you can buy the scarabs that you want for your league mechanic that you want to do to guarantee it on your maps for so little that it's worth for everybody to do it. Or use the scarabs you're getting yourself, because you're getting so many, you can spec into specific content, run a bunch of scarabs, or spec into another content, or keep it all the same and just buy the scarabs you want. It's just, I don't know. I have been actually using scarabs this league because they're just so cheap. It actually makes it worth for me to buy them from other people or use the ones I get. It's just amazing. I love it. I love how many scarabs you're getting with the new, it's basically with the new influences from those shrine thingies you get from new influences. I love it. Now, especially considering how front-loaded the point acquisition is, I don't think I can see myself anytime soon getting tired of the Atlas passive tree. Because also, with every new league mechanic that comes, every past league mechanic that gets added back, we'll see new Atlas passive points. Like, for example, like ultimatums coming back. There should be some points on the skill tree, Atlas passive skill tree for ultimatum. I would expect that. So, just like skill tree, it's just going to keep changing. It's going to stay fresh. It's just, yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Love it. Amazing. Keep it. Please don't take it away. I don't see it. Again, also, I don't see it changing anytime soon. Because also what Chris Wilson mentioned in the Q&A is that in the next endgame expansion, which would be a year from now, they don't necessarily see themselves overhauling the endgame as much as they have been doing in the past. So, yeah, there we go. Atlas passive. Amazing. Atlas passive 3. My favorite thing. Now, the thing that maybe I didn't like quite as much, and so this is just attributed to the way I play the game, right? Because I'm talking about the new endgame bosses here. Because I hope that they keep adding new endgame bosses, even though they're not changing the endgame that much, right? But there should be new endgame bosses. These current Siege of Atlas endgame bosses are a bit underwhelming in the loot table department. Now, I've heard through the grapevine, so don't come at me if it's not true, but I heard that the unique design rewards awarded to the people who won the endgame race at Archnemesis League Start will be added to the loot table of these bosses, so we will have something new to look forward to. But for my playstyle, right, I don't really see these bosses that often, so it feels like they're not dropping anything. On another hand, you can really farm these bosses so often. You can buy fragments for them from the get-go. Because if you guys remember, well, no, it was like at the beginning, when they added Shaper, there were no fragments, right, for Shaper. When they added Elder, there were no fragments for Elder. Same with Uber Elder. And then when they added Cyrus, no fragments for Cyrus. So this is like a first? Well, there's fragments for Maven, that's true. But so this is the second iteration of endgame bosses where you can actually from the get-go sell or buy the encounter. Another thing is the way you grind it is by killing map bosses. So you can just do maps that are very fast to get to the boss. To kill the boss, you get the counter going, rinse and repeat, you just like go through like 30 seconds basically, 30-second maps. So you need 28, so how much is that? 14 minutes per 28 maps, right? 14 minutes. and you get yourself 2 boss fights. Now that's all fine and dandy, but like that doesn't really work for my playstyle, and I think most people are in my shoes. I might be wrong, but I full clear my maps. I engage with almost all the league mechanics. Almost all league mechanics, right? At this point, still. And so my maps maybe are, they're not very slow, but they're not so amazingly fast as that to farm. So I see fewer bosses, I see fewer drops, and they just feel very underwhelming because most of the time you're not dropping anything. And if you're dropping some unique, it's worthless. I mean, obviously, that is the worthlessness is made by the market, because I play Archnemesis Trade League. Okay, I'm mainly talking, my experiences are from Archnemesis Trade League, because that's the league I play, right? So yeah. Boss loot is underwhelming. I mean, the boss encounters themselves, pretty fun, pretty interesting. You learn the mechanics, and I think everybody can do them. You can amp the difficulty with rolling them, which is awesome. I like that. But yeah, loot table for casuals like me, not so amazing. Again, not like I expect to get something good every time I do it, because, I mean, look at the past league. So Maven, I mean, there were very kind of few good drops. Cyrus had a few more good drops, but also there were the Awakened Gems, so there were more chase items from Cyrus, I feel like. Even though kind of Cyrus is a little bit hated, I kind of liked it because there were just more things to drop. And you felt good. Even like there was just a much bigger loot table, I guess. So yeah, I hope that changes. Maybe they add something that's good. I mean, there are good things. Don't get me wrong. There are good drops from these bosses. But when you've gone like 5 rounds, so that's 10 bosses, and you've got nothing, it's a bit sad. For me, because that's a lot of maps and a lot of time for my playstyle, basically. But yeah, overall, I'm giving the expansion 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, because it is awesome. Awesome. It's really good. 9 out of 10. I like it. Right. So, we talked about the league mechanic. We talked about the endgame expansion. Now let's talk about the builds I made in this league that worked, that felt good, and, what I got up to this league. Great. I've kind of turned into 2-3 build Mandy in the last leagues because, I don't know, if I like the build, I just want to keep playing it most of the time. And my goals for the leagues are just to make like a good build that can do the content that I want. I'm not necessarily wanting to experiment. Maybe there's like a new skill or new unique that I want to try if it's a reasonable price. But other than that, like I want to complete challenges, I want to kill bosses, right? Some goals like that, they're not mainly build-based goals, but more like content-based goals. And I've also started to min-max more or less a little bit more my builds, because usually what I did is I went in and as soon as it was able to do the content that I wanted, I stopped improving it. Now, I still kind of improve it a little bit more. So, different kind of approach for my builds. But also in the past I made more builds, so I had to save currency, I guess, for the future. So this league, I only made 2 builds, because my league starter turned out to be freaking amazing. Usually it's like 3 builds, because I have my league starter, sometimes it's touch and go, and then there's already popped up a bunch of different builds that work good, so I choose one of those, and then maybe the third build is some kind of meme that I want to play, even though it's maybe not the best, but I want to play it anyways. So this league was 2 builds because my league starter, again, was amazing. It was Skelly Mage's Necro. I made a video about it. You've probably seen a tons of videos. You might have played one yourself because it was freaking popular. No wonder it was popular, because it was so good. It's not maybe like it's an average map clearer, that's what I want to say. It's not super fast, especially the way I made it, but it excels in killing bosses. It's such a good boss killer. Just smooth, you're tanky, so you're not really dying, you can take some hits. And your skellies just do all the job for you. You have all bunch of buffs you have auras, you have buffs from your other minions. It's just great. It's so good. 100% recommend. Also, the best part of this build is that it scales really well. So you can start it with barely anything and then just keep adding little bits and pieces to scale it higher and higher and higher, and it just scales so well. And it scales even, I haven't min-maxed it completely. I have spent some money on it, but you could scale it even higher than I have, and I don't really see the point because it's already so comfy in killing bosses. It's just so good. It scales really well. The only downside, and this is just my experience because of the way I play, right, is acquiring the jewel that makes your skellies into mage skellies. My problem was that because it was so advertised before League started, so many people League started as skelly mages, or they wanted to be skelly mages, that it drove the price of the jewel sky high. And at League start, 90 chaos is what I bought the jewel for. 90 chaos is a lot of chaos on the third day of the League, or, a Sunday, basically. It's so much money. Because you could at League start make some kind of build with that money that is good League start. So that was my only problem. But once I did that, chipping away, getting little bits and bobs here and there, little upgrades, it just smooth sailing. It was great. Yeah, check out my video about Skelly Mages if you want to hear more details about how the leveling went and how it scales into endgame, because it scales in so well. Overall, 10 out of 10, this build. 10 out of 10. I don't even care that it's not fast map killer. Map killer? Fast map clearer. Just the fact that it can clear bosses so well is just the best for me, because I like killing bosses. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for this build. Love it. Maybe it will get nerfed. Who knows? So yeah, my second build, because my first build went so well, I decided I'll jump straight to the meme build. So, what I did was, because Ashes of the Stars is such an amazing amulet, I decided to go with On-Hit Soul Rend. Right? It's also one of my most min-maxed meme builds I've ever made, and it works really well. So what happens is usually Soul Rend is placed as a dot build, but what Ashes of the Star allows you is to take, I think it's anomalous Soul Rend that scales your hit damage very high with quality, and Ashes of the Stars give you 30 extra quality, which you could almost acquire with, not quite, because you get 24 quality with level 4 enhance, right? So you would have to get level 5 enhance somehow to get almost the same quality as Ashes of the Stars give you, and you would lose a link. So you could say, like, in the past, you could already play these alternate quality gems, but you would lose a link. And now you have that in one amulet, which also gives you a lot of stuff, right? Gives you +1 level, gives you reservation efficiency, which allows you to get more auras or more rust, so on and so forth, right? So it's amazing. Amulet by itself is amazing. But especially for the Soul Rend build, it's also really good. So I'm using that, which basically allows me to play this build in the first place. So this is it's just a plain on-hit crit occultist. And it excels in map clearing. It is just easy breezy, beautiful map clear. I love it. It's just so smooth. We have the explosions. Just so beautiful. The one downside of this build is that single target leaves a little bit to be desired. But because the map clear is so comfy, I don't even care. I already have a boss killer, right? I don't even care. I also don't think I will keep investing, because at this point I feel like invested enough for this build to be almost as good as it can be. To kill bosses, actually. I don't know how much money I would have to invest to kill bosses, but I think I'm pretty much done with that build. Maybe there are like a few things I could get, but overall I think I'm done with that build, and it is so good. I will make an additional video about it where I go into more details. But yeah, Basically, single target, not the best. Maybe for that video I will try to kill some bosses just to see how it goes. The biggest problem is that most of our defense, well, a big part of our defenses comes from getting flasks active. And of course, when you're doing single target, your flasks are not 100% uptime. So that's a problem also. But yeah, really good. 8 out of 10. Just because of the boss killing incapability. But 8 out of 10 for this build from me. Yeah. Now that we have covered my league so far, let's talk about the future. There is still a month and a couple of weeks, give or take, till the new league. As my prediction is that the new league will start on the 6th of May, more or less. That would make exactly 13 weeks, which is their, content cycle. Unless they extend the league, because, development is not going as fast or whatever. But yeah, 6th of May makes 13 weeks. We'll see. So then I expect the last week of April is gonna be the live stream, content update, live stream, whatever, as we usually get it 1 week before. And what we do know is that we'll get Ultimatum, because that's what was mentioned. It was supposed to be in this league, but, it didn't make the cut. And hard mode was also promised by Chris Wilson on Ziggy's Q&A after the Archnemesis content livestream. So we're getting hard mode. I don't know if you're interested in, but we're getting it. Either at the end of this league or at the beginning of new league. We're getting hard mode. Historically, though, the league after an expansion has always been a bit more involved. So I expect this new league to have an NPC or two. Because after Ritual, I think Ritual we had Ultimatum League, so that did have an NPC. So yeah, I don't really know what this new league could be about. But they can always come up with ways to kill more baddies, right? But I would expect there to be an NPC. And as I said before, I don't expect them to make Archnemesis core, nor do I think they will bring back Scourge League. It's just too much. There's just too much micromanagement with both of those. In Scourge, you had to do, even though it added lots of monsters, and there were more interesting things, I think, about Scourge than Archnemesis. But you had to, keep crangling the items, and it's just too much micromanagement. And Archnemesis pretty much, as I said before, I already talked about it, but it really doesn't bring that much to the table. So yeah. Now, the more volatile predictions here, these are, I'm making them pretty early, but the nerfs. Okay. Will we see a lot of nerfs? I don't think we will see a lot of nerfs. Okay, here's the thing. If we go back to the Q&A, Chris Wilson specifically, it was a question, but he specifically mentions that they didn't do any nerfs to defenses in this patch. And I'm assuming that's because there were so many changes already to the endgame, and there were so many new things, and also so much content for them to develop that they didn't want to mess with things that, maybe were a bit OP or whatever. I don't know what the real thoughts are on the matter, but just because there was so much content already going on, they didn't want to mess with that. But now that we're all familiar with this stuff, and they maybe have more times on their hands because they only have to develop the league and not a league and an expansion, I could see some hit to evasion and armor. Maybe spell suppression also. Specifically defense nerfs, There are new map mods that counter this because, Determination and Grace is the popular combo on almost every character. So there's a new map mod that lowers your aura effectiveness, basically. 60%, I think it's on red maps, I think 60% reduce aura effectiveness. And that is a huge hit to if most of your armor comes from Determination, And most of your evasion comes from Grace. That's a huge hit to your defenses. Of course, you can roll over that. Same thing for spell suppression. There is a mod on maps that lowers your spell suppression, but again, you can roll over that. And I just don't know. I feel like you can take aura effectiveness and you can take determination and not have any other armor, and you'll be pretty good. And maybe that is just too easy. I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty good because you actually invest in those auras instead of taking damage, and you feel rewarded for it because it makes a difference. But I could see them taking a hit. Now, another thing I could see getting nerfed is the new amulets from the new bosses. I mean, if you look at PoE Ninja right now, at the time of making this video, which is 28th of March, right? There's almost 40% of people using ashes. 40% of the builds, 40% of the builds that are parsed by PoE Ninja at this moment are using Ashes of the Stars. I mean, that is an insane amount. That's an insane amount. So, what I hope that happens is that they nerf the drop rate and maybe don't nerf necessarily the item itself, but that's not gonna happen. They probably will nerf the item itself. Like maybe slash the reservation efficiency in half, maybe lower the quality, which I really hope. I hope you can get rid of everything else for me, but just leave me the quality. I feel like the quality gives you so much, or the reservation efficiency even. You can get rid of that completely. Just leave me the +1 level in the quality. I'll be happy. You know? So that will probably take a hit. Same with Omniscience, right? Crystallized Omniscience. I mean, it's not used by quite as many people, but it's still quite used. I don't see them making that. Maybe they will increase the requirements, right? So to cap, instead of you get 1 Omniscience per 10 stat, you get it for 15 stat or something. So you need more stats to cap the penetration and so on and so forth. Maybe I could see that happening, or 12 or whatever number, right? I don't see them like completely crangling the item because it's still build enabling. It's still really good item. I feel like they shouldn't completely destroy these uniques that are so popular because they're popular for a reason. And I don't think they're necessarily so OP. I mean, maybe it is. I haven't played Omniscience build myself. Maybe I should have to know what I'm talking about, but I've seen people make powerful builds, right? So they could nerf it a bit, but just don't destroy it. It's just like people love this thing. People find it really fun. So just don't nerf it. That's all I'm saying. Don't nerf it completely. Like maybe a little numerical changes. So yeah. But anyways, I am also a contributor to this statistic on PoE Ninja because both of my builds this league use Ashes. So, I don't know. I really hope they are not too heavy-handed with the nerfs. If you got this far, let me know what your biggest nerf predictions are, if any, if you think they are gonna nerf anything. And that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and bye.